I never thought I'd see my parents again after they abandoned me at 8 years old. That day is etched into my mind forever. Mom and Dad dropped me off at Grandma Rose's house with nothing but a small backpack of clothes, promising they'd be back soon. "We just need some time to sort things out," Mom had said, avoiding my eyes. "Be good for Grandma." They never returned. The first few months were the hardest. Each day after school, I would sit by Grandma's window, watching for their car to appear, hoping the next one would be them. Every night, I cried myself to sleep, wondering what I had done wrong, why I wasn't enough for them to stay. But Grandma Rose was my lifeline. "You're perfect just as you are, sweet girl," she'd say, gently wiping my tears. "Some people aren't ready to be parents, but that's not your fault. I'm here, and I'll always be here." Grandma wasn't just any grandmother, she was brilliant, graceful, and, as I later discovered, incredibly wealthy. But you'd never know it from the way she lived. Our home was modest, her car was an old Toyota, and she still worked as a high school principal because she loved shaping young minds. Her wealth only became apparent in the rare moments she'd mention her investments while reading the financial papers or when we'd admire the art in her living room. Under her care, I thrived. Grandma nurtured my love for science, hired tutors when math became a struggle, and celebrated every victory, big or small. When I won first place in the state science fair at 13, she threw me a party, surrounded by friends. "That's my girl," she'd exclaim, pulling me into a tight hug. "You're going to change the world someday." Life became a comfortable rhythm, Grandma and me against the world. She never spoke ill of my parents, but she made sure I knew their absence wasn't my fault. "Sometimes people make choices they can't take back," she'd say, "but those choices reflect on them, not on you." I stopped thinking about my parents, stopped wondering why they left. Grandma was everything I needed. Then came my 18th birthday. Grandma threw an elegant party at her favorite restaurant, invited all my friends, and gave me a beautiful necklace, a delicate gold chain with a small key pendant. "This is more than jewelry, Emma," she'd said with a mysterious smile. "Keep it safe. You'll understand when the time comes." I didn't know then that it would be our last celebration together. 3 months later, Grandma collapsed at school. By the time I arrived at the hospital, she was gone. "Heart attack," the doctor said, "quick and painless." But the pain that tore through me was anything but quick. It was a hurricane, leaving only emptiness in its wake. The funeral was beautiful, just as Grandma would have wanted. Her former students filled the church, each sharing how her guidance had changed their lives. I sat alone in the front row, clutching the key necklace, trying to stay strong as she'd taught me. That's when I saw them. My parents walked into the church like they had a right to be there, like they hadn't abandoned me a decade ago. Mom's hair had grayed, and Dad had gained weight, but I would have recognized them anywhere. My heart stopped, then pounded in my chest. They moved toward me, their faces painted with what seemed like concern. "Emma, sweetheart," Mom said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away instinctively. "We came as soon as we heard." "We're so sorry about your grandmother," Dad added, nodding solemnly. "We know it's been a long time, but we're here now. You're still a minor for a few more months, and we're your legal guardians. You'll come home with us." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 10 years of silence, and now they wanted to act like everything was normal. "I'm not going anywhere with you," I said, my voice shaking with anger. Grandma Rose was my family now. "Emma," Mom said, her voice taking on that stern tone I remembered from childhood, "don't be difficult. We're your parents. You have no choice in this matter." "Actually," a deep voice interrupted, "she has every choice." We turned to see a tall man in an expensive suit walking toward us, holding a leather briefcase. "I'm James Morrison, Rose Montgomery's attorney. We need to have a conversation about your grandmother's will." My parents' faces shifted immediately. Mom's eyes lit up with barely concealed interest, while Dad adjusted his tie nervously. "Of course," Dad said, his voice smooth. "We're her only living relatives, after all." Mr. Morrison's expression remained impassive. "Let's step into the private room. There are some matters that need to be addressed immediately." As we followed him, I felt my fingers instinctively touch the key necklace Grandma had given me. Something in my gut told me that everything was about to change, and I didn't know how much. The private room at the church felt too small for the tension hanging in the air. Mr. Morrison sat across from us at a polished wooden table, methodically arranging papers from his briefcase. My parents flanked me like vultures, trying to look concerned while their eyes kept darting to the documents. "Before we begin," Mr. Morrison said, adjusting his glasses, "Miss Emma, would you please show me your necklace?" My parents looked confused, but I reached for the key pendant Grandma had given me. Mr. Morrison nodded, a slight smile crossing his face. Perfect. Now let me read the terms of Rose Montgomery's will. He cleared his throat and began reading. I, Rose Montgomery, being of sound mind, declare this to be my last will and testament. The legal jargon washed over me until one sentence made my heart stop. To my beloved granddaughter, Emma Grace Montgomery, I leave my entire estate, including all properties, investments, bank accounts, and business holdings, currently valued at approximately $47 million. The room exploded into chaos. 47 million? Mom's face turned crimson as she let out a piercing shriek. This can't be real. Rose was a school principal. Dad's fist hit the table with a force that made me jump. This is insane. We're her only children. You're telling me she left everything to some teenager? Mr. Morrison stayed composed, unaffected by their outrage. There's more, he said. The will specifies that Emma is to be legally emancipated immediately, with a trust set up in her name. The key she wears opens a safety deposit box, where additional documents and instructions await. I could barely process it. $47 million? My grandmother, Rose, who drove a modest Toyota and lived a quiet life, was worth $47 million? Mom's voice turned cold and dangerous. This will is dated just last month. We'll contest it. Emma's still a minor. We're her legal guardians. We have rights. Mr. Morrison interjected smoothly. Actually, you forfeited those rights 10 years ago. He slid a new document across the table. This is a copy of the abandonment charges Rose filed against both of you after you left Emma. You never responded to the court summons, so she was awarded full custody. You haven't been Emma's guardians for a very long time. I watched my parents' expressions shift from feigned concern to open greed and anger. Emma, sweetheart, Mom said, her voice oozing false sweetness, you don't understand what you're doing. Let us help you manage all this. We're family. Family? The word tasted bitter on my tongue. Where was family when you abandoned me? Where was family for 10 years while Grandma Rose raised me? We made a mistake, Dad said quickly, guilt flashing in his eyes. We were young, struggling, but we're here now. We can fix this. Fix it? I stood up, my body trembling with rage. You're only here because of the money. Did you even care when Grandma died? Did you ever care about me? Their silence spoke volumes. Mr. Morrison cleared his throat. One last thing. Rose left a letter for you, Emma. He handed me a sealed envelope. She requested you read it privately. I took the envelope, my hands shaking, and walked out of the room, leaving my parents arguing behind me. Finding a quiet corner of the church, I opened the letter with trembling fingers. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're learning the truth about our family's wealth. I know it's a shock. I kept this secret for many reasons, mostly to protect you and allow you to grow up with the values of hard work and kindness. I watched your parents choose money over love time and time again. They abandoned you because I refused to continue funding their extravagant lifestyle. They chose wealth over their daughter, and in doing so, they gave me the greatest gift, you. The key I gave you opens more than just a safety deposit box. It unlocks the door to your future. I've made arrangements for everything. The house is yours. Your college fund is secure, and when you're ready, the family business will be waiting for you. But above all, remember this, you are loved, not for your inheritance, but for who you are. The same quiet strength that helped you survive being abandoned will help you carry this responsibility. Don't let your parents manipulate you. They'll try, but you're stronger than they know. You're a Montgomery woman, and we don't break easily. All my love. Grandma Rose. Tears blurred my vision as I finished reading. In death, as in life, Grandma Rose was still protecting me, guiding me, loving me. I touched the key around my neck, feeling a wave of understanding wash over me. I walked back into the private room. My parents were still arguing with Mr. Morrison about contesting the will. They fell silent when they saw me. Emma, Mom began, but I raised a hand to stop her. I want you to leave, I said, my voice firm. Both of you, you're not welcome here. Dad opened his mouth to argue, but Mr. Morrison cut him off. Should I call security? He asked calmly. As the sole heir and property owner, Emma has the right to have you removed. They stared at me, strangers who shared my blood, and in that moment, I saw it, the realization that they'd lost, not just the money, but any chance of manipulating me. This isn't over, Mom hissed as they gathered their things. You'll regret this. I watched them leave, feeling an unexpected sense of peace. What happens now? I asked Mr. Morrison. He smiled. Now, We visit the safety deposit box. Your grandmother left very clear instructions on the next steps, shall we? As we walked out of the church, I spotted my parents in the parking lot, arguing furiously. They'd lost everything today. Not that they'd ever truly had it. They had chosen money over love before, and now, that decision had finally caught up with them. I touched the key around my neck and smiled. Grandma Rose had given me more than just an inheritance. She had given me the power to stand on my own and face whatever came next, and something told me this was just the beginning. The safety deposit box at First National Bank contained exactly what Grandma Rose had promised, and so much more. As Mr. Morrison helped me sift through the contents, I discovered just how meticulously Grandma had planned everything. Inside the safe deposit box were property deeds, stock certificates, and detailed instructions about Montgomery Investments, a family business I had never even known existed. But the item that caught my attention was a USB drive, labeled "Watch Me First." Mr. Morrison connected his laptop, and suddenly, Grandma Rose's face filled the screen. She looked healthy, vibrant. This must have been recorded just before her death. "Emma, my darling girl," she began, her familiar smile warming my heart. "If you're watching this, then everything has unfolded just as I expected. Your parents showed up at my funeral, didn't they? Trying to claim what was never theirs to begin with." I gasped. Even from beyond, she had known exactly what would happen. "You see, Emma, there's something you need to know about your parents. They didn't just abandon you, they tried to steal everything from me first. Your father, my own son, and your mother attempted to transfer all my assets into their names while I was away on a business trip. They thought I was just a naive school principal. They never knew I was the one who built Montgomery Investments from the ground up." She paused, her expression hardening. "When I found out about their scheme, I gave them a choice: stay and learn the value of hard work, or leave. They chose to leave. They left you behind, thinking I'd come begging them to return. They never understood that by abandoning you, they gave up the greatest treasure of all." Tears blurred my vision as Grandma's words continued. "I watched you grow into an extraordinary young woman, kind, intelligent, hardworking, everything they are not. And that's why I know you're ready for this responsibility." The video went on with clear instructions for running the business, the properties, and, most importantly, the charitable foundation she had created. The Montgomery Foundation provides scholarships to abandoned children. You will be its new director. Use our wealth to help others like yourself. Emma, that's our true legacy. The following weeks were a whirlwind. Mr. Morrison introduced me to the board of directors of Montgomery Investments. They had all known and respected Grandma Rose, and they welcomed me warmly, ready to teach me the ropes of the business. But my parents weren't finished. They hired lawyers, attempted to contest the will, and even tried to prove that Grandma Rose had been mentally unstable when she wrote it. But Grandma had been too thorough. Every document was airtight, every decision legally sound. 3 months later, they made their final attempt. They showed up at Montgomery Investments, causing a scene in the lobby. "We're her parents," Mom shouted, as security moved in to restrain them. "You can't keep us out." I stood tall and calm, wearing one of Grandma's elegant suits and the key necklace still around my neck. "Actually," I said, meeting their eyes with a steady gaze, "I can, and I will. We'll go to the press," Dad threatened, his face red with rage. "We'll tell everyone how you stole our inheritance." I smiled, channeling the same quiet strength Grandma had taught me. "Go ahead, tell them how you abandoned your 8-year-old daughter. Tell them how you tried to steal from your own mother. I'm sure the press will eat that story up." Their faces fell as they realized they had nothing left, not just the money, but any leverage they'd hoped to have over me. "Goodbye," I said firmly, "don't come back." I watched them leave, feeling a quiet sense of peace. That evening, I signed off on the first round of scholarships from the Montgomery Foundation. 20 children from broken homes would now have a chance at a better life. As I sat in Grandma's old office, my office now, I looked at her photo on the wall and smiled. She had given me more than an inheritance. She had given me purpose, strength, and the power to help others. The old Toyota still sat in my garage, even though I could afford any car I wanted. It was a reminder of where I came from, of the humble woman who had taught me that true wealth isn't about money, it's about how you use it to make the world better. Sometimes, I wear Grandma's old principal blazer to board meetings. The board members who knew her smile when they see it. They understand. I'm not just Rose Montgomery's heir, I'm her legacy. As for my parents, I heard they moved to another state, spinning their tale to anyone who'd listen about their ungrateful daughter. But their words no longer hurt me. I know who I am. I'm Emma Grace Montgomery, and like my grandmother before me, I choose love over money, kindness over greed, and helping others over helping myself. That's what real family does.